Well, hello, that's me again. Today is December 3, 2024. It is Tuesday, I believe, and I have some issues with Tuesdays, as you might remember. And I want to start with what is in the beginning of this video, which is the launch of the coastal complex Bastion. This is in Eastern Mediterranean, and as you can see yourself, that Russian Defense Ministry issued the declaration and warning about that on December 3, 2024, during an exercise to practice methods of joint actions by groups of forces of Russian Navy and aerospace forces in the eastern part of the Mediterranean Sea. High-precision sea and air-based missiles were launched. The crews of the frigates, Admiral of the Fleet of the Soviet Union Gorshkov and Admiral Golovko, which were the part of the Russian Navy strike group, fired hypersonic Zircon missiles, and the diesel-electric submarine Novorossiysk launched a Caliber cruise missile at the target position at sea. At the same time, the crew of the Bastion coastal missile system launched an Onyx cruise missile from a designated area on the Mediterranean coast. There were, as they report, exercise involved more than 1,000 military personnel, 10 ships and support vessels, 24 aircraft, including Russian airspace forces, MiG-31I fighters with Kinzhal hypersonic missiles and the Bastion coastal missile system. And for the first time, we could see when we look at the videos from the Russian Defense Ministry, for the first time they do not actually obscure the head part, which is of course the cover of the actual warhead for the 3M22 Zircon hypersonic missile. It is very difficult to judge from the this video, which is the screenshot, but it seems that it is slightly fatter, if you wish, than P800 Onyx, on which allegedly it is based, upon. But we can see for the first time this is the cover, basically, and yeah, that's what you see, the start of this missile Zircon from the vertical launch system 3S14. Well, yeah, it's very similar to MK41. So, and that's what we have. And now I want to explain that even the Bastion, complex Bastion, which you see in the beginning, it has the range of the more than 800 kilometers for the P800 Onyx missile, but Bastions are also capable of launching 3M22 Zircons. So if you look attentively at the map, and you can see, well, it's just pretty, well, random place on the shores of Syria. You can basically locate any kind of the launch system of Bastion anywhere, and it will receive the targeting from the space assets such as the Liana system, which is the recon targeting system, is a combination of the Lotus and Peony satellites, which are already fully functional, and it's on the orbit. So you will see yourself at around 1,500 plus kilometers, which is the range of Zircon, and on the red you can see yourself that the whole of the Eastern Mediterranean becomes the exclusion zone for any kind of the naval asset, which will decide to pretend that they really matter. Obviously, if you have the ships such as the Admiral Gorshkov and Admiral Golovko and other types of Russian Navy frigates going further into the Eastern Mediterranean towards the Western Mediterranean or middle part of the Mediterranean, you understand that this exclusion zone will be moving to the west, and each of those ships carries obviously those 322 Zircons, and we know that the range of Zircon is more than 1500 kilometers, and it is a Mach 10 weapon. You cannot stop it. It doesn't matter how many missiles you launch at it, because even the pure mathematics here does not explain the impact and the difficulty of defending against such weapons, especially which Zircons, obviously they maneuver. Then of course you have the Khmimim Air Force Base with the MiG-31I now, the serial production of the MiG-31s upgrades with Kinzhal hypersonic weapon, and just to demonstrate to you what Kinzhal is, you can take a look at it at the video of the Defense Ministry of Russian Federation, which on April this year, dealt with what would be the recess and highly fortified with the concrete also, a command post of the whole grouping in Donbass of the armed forces of Ukraine. And as you can see yourself, it demonstrates, basically what it was and what happened after the visit of Mr. Kinzhal. And Mr. Kinzhal, as we know, is aeroballistic hypersonic weapon with the speed of up to Mach 10, and some people say it's more than that. Well, it's kind of sort of Oreshnik light, if you wish, but the result is a utter devastation, so anybody who is in there is dead. And that brings us to this very interesting issue of not just the Kinzhal or what have you, but basically explanation of what is Ministry of Defense today, Russian Federation reports again that the contingent of the Polish so-called mercenaries, in reality most of them are cadre officers and soldiers, have been found out and just absolutely wiped out. So as I already stated, they wanted to play the game, although since the last time they launched two batches of ATACMS after demonstration of Oreshnik, practically the next day, I believe, on the day after that, we're looking now at today is the third, so if you kind of, rewind it back, we're looking at more than a week now. Nothing was flying in terms of this type of the weaponry. Russians obviously shooting down all kinds of the cottage industry Ukrainian missiles, including the Neptune, which is the long-range 500-kilometer anti-shipping missile. They used it. They tried to use it on the coastal targets also, but it's been intercepted. So yeah, evidently some message is being delivered. And as I already stated, and that was the point, that this is not just that Russia goes out and begins to demonstrate those devastating weapons for which the West simply doesn't have answer. It is the other thing, because as Vladimir Putin stated himself, that there are other means of military technological or military technical means which Russia can do to really hurt the United States and the combined West if they continue to do the stupid things. And one of them you just saw in the beginning. Well, you do not need much. Obviously, Bastion, the coastal missile system, comes with its own long-range radar, but you just need the really, targeting from satellites. You don't need to see your target. And considering the range, 800 plus kilometers of Onyx alone, there you go. Anybody can get those things now, I'm just saying, who knows, Houthis may get it. Just, just speculating, right? Who knows? And then suddenly, you saw yourself the scale of things which will happen in the, world ocean and the seas. That is why, for example, Russians look at these NATO ships visiting Estonia like with the smirk or the smile. It's like, sure, go, project the power. See what happens if you, God forbid, of course, if you decide to go the full Monty and start the war. They will not basically survive for, I would say, 10 minutes. After that, everything will be sunk in the NATO navies, not just only near the Baltic states, but pretty much anywhere. And that is especially becomes important when you look today at the I'm going to touch upon this South Korea thing later, but let's take a look what we have tactically, so to speak, apart from the obviously all kinds of the demonstrations. But well, in terms of armed forces of Ukraine losses, we are, creeping back to the 2,000 a day, almost 2,000 a day. You can see yourself 33 tanks and APCs have been wiped out, and in Kursk alone, we have, well, it is devastation. They are using there primarily, not almost exclusively now, all NATO weaponry there, and and I want to be very specific about that, because we're going to touch upon this in a minute. But here are, for example, basically the spread of the general losses of the personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine for November 2024. As you can see yourself, on average, if you kind of get it, best fit line, so to speak, we're looking at 2,000, slightly more, maybe 2,000 a day, and yeah, it was 60,000 in general for the month of November. This is, I mean, there is not a single NATO army which can sustain such kind of losses. Simply cannot. They just, what can I say? Can you imagine a U.S. army sustaining 60,000 killed in a month? Well, there you go. So, and this is the very grim demonstration for you of the dynamics of the losses. And as I already stated, as you saw, we are creeping back to the 2,000 a day. So now we have this situation. We have this is the issue of Kursk, and this is the scheme. Make no mistake. This is the scheme of the things. As you can see yourself, Russians created practically their yet another cauldron, and as you can see yourself in their this scheme, I demonstrated to you that two of the major supply routes have been cut. One, which have been cut for a while now, is to the left, and you can see yourself two horizontal red lines. Now, as you can see yourself, Russians begin to clear up. It's a yellow circle, means the battles are ongoing inside Sudzha. And as you can see yourself, from Yunakovka, from Sumy through Yunakovka, you have this only road, which is actually was the, so to speak, the pivotal point of this idiotic London nincompoops military planning that, oh yeah, let's pour, troops and get them rolling primarily on this road, reach Kurchatov, which is of course the place where the Kursk nuclear power station is, and there you go. We'll suddenly, grab Russia by the balls, and and here we are. Well, obviously it never worked out, because, well, those people, as I already spoke yesterday when speaking to Danny Haifon and Scott Ritter, that whatever British plan, they always end up with market garden. Having this idealistic and idiotic way of throwing troops somewhere without the lines of communications, and then killing a bunch of them and losing a bunch of them as prisoners of war. The same happened in Kursk, and that's when the people say, oh yeah, why don't Russians just clean this up? Well, Russians are not just cleaning this up. They are killing an enormous number of those troops, which include very many Western mercenaries, if you wish. And the fundamental thing today is what many people do not understand. Those armed forces of Ukraine, they have nowhere to run. They have been surrounded, and as you can see yourself, there are two inclined parallel red lines, which are actually there. This is what it is. It's a R200 highway, the focal point of this basically military adventurism. You see, it's underlined here, and this is the only line through which they can first supply their troops, which they cannot anymore. And now this, you cannot escape other than just trying your luck in the open fields, trying to reach to Sumy, which in itself now is under constant attacks. So Russians will be moving on to Sumy. This is 100%. Now it's clear what is going to be happening. So what you have essentially another meat grinder, which, and as I already stated, Russian Defense Ministry today reported 37 plus KIAs since the start of this basically atrocity by NATO since August 6. So 37,000 plus KIAs alone, so you can easily multiply it by 2, will get the number of the wounded. And what you have? Well, what you have the full combined arms army dead there. And this is the level of the operation planning, well, including people from Pentagon. But yeah, British wanted to really, I guess, to show everybody how much they matter, which they don't really at all. So, but here we are. And this is just Kursk. And going back to basically state of the Ukrainian army, we have the National Defense Minister of Poland, Władysław Koźle-Kamysz, saying that desertions and war fatigue growing among Ukrainian soldiers. And he's talking that the number of Kiev troops training in Poland who walk away is likely to grow. Well, asked to comment on the recent Financial Times report. Okay, of course, Financial Times. These people in London, they are clowns, really. They come up with all kinds of stories, and even only now they begin to kind of drift some truths, because obviously you cannot lie that, arrogantly, except for Pentagon. I will explain in a minute why. But they say that the growing number of desertions among Ukrainian servicemen, including those training abroad, the minister admitted that this was also happening in Poland, albeit at a small negligible scale that in no way threatens the training process. First, you have to explain to people who are not militarily literate or experienced in among my audience, for example. There are neither Poland nor Great Britain, nor for that matter United States would be, which they still have the trainers present in the western part of Ukraine, they can teach anything which really can make a difference on the battlefield. No matter how long they train those, helpless, how to say it, those soldiers, if you wish. In reality, as they have 2 types of the programs, 1 month and 3 months. In 1 month, you can teach nothing, anybody. So, and especially if you do not have real first-hand knowledge, and as military systems, neither Americans nor British, let alone the other Europeans, have the first-hand knowledge of or understanding of what is happening with the special military operation. They can teach a couple of the tactical tricks. They can teach you to shoot, and even 1 month is not enough by far. And even 3 months programs, they basically brainwash those people, because this is the only thing which they are good at, PR. And as many, you probably remember in one of my videos, I specifically pointed out to one of the graduates of the so-called Royal Spanish Military Academy, the guy, Ukrainian. He was taken by POWs by Russians, and he said they really teach very little. I mean, they primarily brainwash people. They really because they basically project themselves, because they would run also when they will encounter Russians. So what do? They those to the last Ukrainian armed forces of Ukraine, they brainwashed with them that Russian army is nothing more than the bunch of the young recruits, and once they will see those wonderful, wonderfully trained armed forces of Ukraine soldiers, and they will see those Challenger and Abrams tanks, they will run. Well, it's obviously opposite in reality, but this is what is happening there. So in this case, yeah, many troops from armed forces of Ukraine, they desert. The desertions are high, hundreds and thousands, since the start of the special military operation. This is unprecedented. And of course, we know that now we have the actually people from not only the national security circle of Biden administration, but from Pentagon demanding, let's send the kids, 18-year-old kids. It's a pattern. It's a pattern which is repeated in the Western militaries, and not only militaries, because none of them lose their families. For example, if you take any American general or any American military thinker, as I already repeat, nobody, none, zero of them have grasp of what it means to lose your family, have your wife, children killed, to lose your property, to live among the basically rubble. Well, ask people from Maui, which survived the horrendous fire. This is what it is. They don't have grasp of it, none of them, let alone all those civilian bureaucrats and nincompoops basically ran through the degree mills in Ivy League. This is what we have. And these people, they have no, compunction about this whole goddamn thing when they say that we need to throw the 18-year-old kids. And that's what they want. Because they have no consciousness, they have no morality, they have no integrity, none of them has any honor, and people with honor, integrity, and mind, real mind, they will not be allowed nowhere near to the levers of power, because the social demand of the political system in the West, which is not democracy, never was for the last 30 years, it is oligarchy and social demand for psychopath or sociopath, which are majority of those people who only care about their own comfort and own belly. Just to demonstrate to you what those and who those people are. There you go. So we look at Zurabishvili. This is the French-born so-called president of Georgia, which we know Georgia is burning. But I think so the Georgian dream will be able to prevent the sliding of the country into complete chaos. But look at this. So, Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili has called on the country's schools to back pro-European protests after hundreds of university lecturers expressed support for the ongoing demonstration. Of course, university lecturers, of course, people without specific professions who operate in the abstract made-up world, and especially people who teach all this humanities garbage, which allegedly constitutes some kind of the education. Not all of them are basically subjects which are completely superficial, like political science, and have to be discarded in a normal society which wants to progress along the line of the technical and real social progress. So, and here it is. So, Zurabishvili has refused to leave office after Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze froze EU accession talks. After universities, it is the turn of schools to express their solidarity with the protest all over Georgia, Zurabishvili wrote in social media. So you can see a repetition of the pattern of this Western so-called educated. In reality, they're not educated, they're dumbed down, cynical, genocidal maniacs. If it will be children who will be thrown on the streets, for example, of Tbilisi, and will be killed there, so be it. Let children, support that. You can see the same thing from Washington. These people have no compunction about throwing kids under the tanks, for example, and that is why they demand now the, lowering of the draft age to 18. That's who they are, genocidal maniac. And I want to bring you to your attention this thing. This is the Alexander Plastov, I believe he was Alexander Plastov, famous studio of the military paintings. And this was the picture which Joseph Stalin took with him to the Tehran conference in 1943. After, for 3 years, allies under all kinds of pretexts, some of them valid, others completely superficial, tried to avoid getting into opening the real second front, obviously just going into the so-called Operation Torch, which was in the Northern Africa and was about basically possessions of the British Empire. But this piece of art, that's the only painting he brought with him to Tehran and showed it to Churchill and FDR, and they were stunned. The name of the picture is called the French, pardon me, the fascists flew over. And when you begin to look at this among this, very peaceful middle Russian landscape, what you see is in the right upper corner some kind of Luftwaffe combat aircraft flying away. And you see yourself a couple of cows dead, but in the front you can see yourself a little kid with the horrible bleeding head wound lying on the ground, dead. And you can see his dog already, howling in desperation. That is everything you need to know about the war. And let me tell you again, no Western military person understands that. They never experienced anything like that, and especially in the United States. They do not even know what it is. They have no concept of that. And even people who really, for example, they have morality and integrity to point out to what is happening is just absolute insanity. They still never experienced of losing your family and your property to real war, because the real war, that's why Russia doesn't fight the real war. Russia fights special military operation, preserving as much as they can all civilian population of Ukraine. But they lie. They constantly lie. Pentagon, they lie. And I think so is the complex of inferiority, because basically, as I already stated, it's the finest fighting force in the history, which has the most losing record of them all. I mean, this is unbelievable. United States primarily loses all its wars, starting from 1945. And for example, if we go and look attentively at the Mr. Ryder from Pentagon, Major General Pat Ryder, they talk about Syria, that they by no means, the developments in Syria, that United States, it's absolutely not in any way involved there. So, and that is fine. That's I may buy that. I mean, although obviously the Israel is written all over it, and the nation which backs up Israeli genocide of Palestinians is the United States. But look at this. Then he goes for the, I don't know. So here is Major General Ryder. I don't know. He's not general. He's not going to be, I don't know. Those people have no honor at all. So a couple of things on that of Ukrainian president yesterday mentioned about North Korean soldiers. To this point, we have not seen North Korean soldiers actively engaging in offensive combat operations on the front lines. We do know that they have been integrated into Russian units in many cases, and we're aware of reports of the DPRK soldiers being killed as a result of Ukrainian strikes against Russian facilities. No, you're not. And his lying sack of whatever, Major General Ryder, spreads utter BS, because there is no integrated units, let alone North Korean units in Russia, let alone fighting in Kursk. But where he is aware, well, as we know, they lie. Basically, practically for the last 30 years, the United States was lying. And that, how to put it, brings me to what many people pointed out and provided this interesting graphics. As you can see yourself, and we know that Mr. Trump, who evidently, after he appointed his so-called national security team, will be his repetition of the Biden administration. How it will go, if you want to, you can go and listen to my talk with Colonel Daniel Davis about this yesterday. But look at this. Global reserve currencies longevity, if you wish. And when you take a look at the history of the longevity of those reserve currencies, granted, it needs to be constantly adjusted for the technological paradigm, then when you will see yourself that on average, all those, from Portuguese to Spain to Netherlands to France to Britain to United States, it's about roughly 100 years, plus minus. And the dollar, no matter what Trump does, is doomed. I mean, and when he threatened China, with, for example, with 100% tariffs, I mean, listen, the guy doesn't understand in what world he lives anymore. So yeah, he said, oh yeah, we're going to impose 100% taxes, and we will close, the wonderful American market to all those products, in this particular case from China. Well, many people who observe the dynamics of the Chinese trade with the United States, they would have noticed by now that the share of the United States in China trade is diminishing, and diminishing rather, fast. And so, in response to basically Trump's, he's just absolutely, it's hot air ballooning, that's what it is. They respect that Beijing will deepen cooperation with fellow members of the economic bloc. The foreign ministry has said China stands ready to continue working with BRICS partners to deepen practical cooperation in various fields and make more contribution to the sustained and steady growth of the world economy. The Chinese diplomat, China's foreign ministry spokesman, Lin Jian, expressed. So there you go. I mean, it's difficult to really explain to people how the United States have diminished dramatically itself. And here they will continue to commit suicide. And as you can see yourself, this is one of the Andrei Kostin of the major Russian lender, Внешторгbank, VTB, he says that West won't return Russia's currency reserves. And he told is about, in the West they say, let's pay for the reconstruction of Ukraine from the reserves. And they will draw up such a bill that even the reserves will not be enough. Kostin, the CEO of Russia's second largest lender, told Reuters in an interview published on Monday. The new president of European Council, Antonio Costa, said on Sunday that the EU will continue to provide economic and military aid to Ukraine in the coming year. So basically you are talking about thieves, as I already stated. West doesn't have consciousness anymore. It has no morality. It's completely degenerate societies, socially and culturally, with maybe some exception of the United States, because the United States, by the virtue of its size, by the virtue of its geography, and by the virtue of its history, is different from Europeans. But yes, they will steal it, because that's the only thing they know. They know how to do PR. They know how to, thump their chests, and showing how great they are, and which in reality they are not. And of course, in the end, they're going to steal those 300 billions, because in the end, Europe is bankrupt, and it will be, as I already stated many times, brought to the altar of America's hunger. And America needs to eat too, So now, going back for this crazy situation, including in South Korea, my God, that's democracy for you, all right? Well, I mean, people laugh now openly about this democracy, especially after Biden pardoned Hunter. It's like, really, I mean, come on, this is just freaking third world corrupted crap. I don't know, some African backward countries are more, honest and law-abiding than what is happening right now. But considering what happens in South Korea, I never thought that my book Disintegration, which was published in South Korea, that's me, okay, that's my book, would create such kind of the political effect there. No, I'm screwing with you, of course. No, they published my book, and evidently it's fairly popular, but of course, this is what you get when the societies which, how to put it politely, are under America's wing, if you wish. They are all corrupt. Same goes for Germany, utter corruption. UK, not even funny. I mean, this is like inbred circus, basically, freak show. So, and all of them in France, yeah, so there is no democracy. It's all crap. And remarkably enough, that only the United States stands with the shield of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, which can still withstand, even being after tremendously damaged, the onslaught of, well, basically, how to put it politely, as I already stated, on the picture of Plastov, of the fascists flew over. They all fly in this Luftwaffe combat aircraft, killing civilians. This is the only thing they do. Militarily, they are not good. And it was exposed. And that's strategy for them, because somebody has to tell Trump that the main pillar of the US dollar, the myth of American military superiority, is gone, utterly destroyed. Now Moscow will anticipate or expect Mr. Kellogg. They will laugh at him. So this is what I wanted to tell you today in this Tuesday. And as always, I want to express my profound gratitude to my wonderful patrons. And as always, guys, those who can afford, please subscribe to my channel and support me Patreon. So, or buy me a coffee too. That will be great. And have a nice rest of your week. I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.